If you've been out all day, walking, hiking, pushing yourself to the limit, you get back to the campsite, you set up your tent, and then it's time to get ready and go in the morning. Maybe you've not had very much sleep, maybe you didn't sleep well. How should you put your tent away in a way that's quick, efficient, and safe for the tent? I've got two different styles of tents here. One more traditional style and a tunnel tent. We're going to start with what not to do for either of these tents, the way they work. Don't leave all of your kit just lying around, because the last thing you want is to lose something, or potentially to have a key piece of your tent fly away in the wind. Having your stuff out is just not effective in the slightest, so make sure you're all squared away, everything's packed away, only the stuff that you need is out. So how should you pack these tents away? We're going to start with the one here on my right. First thing that I do with any sort of tent that has guy ropes is tie them up and put them away. If you do have two people with you, one person can do the guy ropes and the other can move on to the next step, which for me the next step is unpegging all the non-important pegs. What I mean by non-important pegs are things like these over here. If we have a look, if I unpeg that, tent's not going anywhere. As well, if I unpeg this from the door, yes, this is going to go inwards, it's not going to be tensioned or anything like that, but the tent isn't going anywhere if it's windy. It might flap about, but it's not moving. The pegs that you want to leave in for the time being are these ones right over here that anchor down where the poles are. So let's take the rest of these pegs out. I've got the peg bag here. I'm going to go around and unpeg all the non-important pegs. I've unpegged all the non-essentials, and the next thing I'm going to do is take down these little vents. I'll show you what I mean by that now. You've got some ventilation over there, and this little like hard cardboard thing is going to get in your way. So just unclip that and let it sit flat and flush against the tent. Once you've removed all of the non-essential pegs, we're going to unpeg the pegs on the side where you can see the pole. If it's windy, this is where you want to be careful, because now that you've got two sides of your tent unpegged and unsecured, right, there is a possibility that the wind could just scoop up your tent and lift it on two legs. It's not exactly great, especially if you're just one person trying to put that all away. Now that you've got your tent unpegged on one side, I can show you this next little trick which I learned on my first time wild camping. If you're wearing something like a waterproof jacket, it works a bit better than this sort of soft shell, but you'll notice the tent start to lift up, and if you put these poles on your shoulder and bring tension on them downwards, you can pull them straight out. That doesn't go straight into my hood, so you can just pull it and the pole will come out. The benefit of removing your poles like that is that if you're just one person, you don't have to feed it through. You don't have to start walking around the tent and start shimmying the poles through. The chances of the poles breaking in the middle of the tent are virtually zero. That might happen on the odd chance if you're not putting enough pressure, but because they are designed to flex, they will just come straight out. Now that you've removed all three poles, immediately the first thing I'm going to do is find that pole bag and put them all in there. This is now your very rectangular looking tent on the floor. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold it in three. This is our center line right there. We're going to bring the right side up all the way, fold it over into the middle, and the same with this right side. We're going to fold it up and bring it into the middle. You should see you've got a longer looking rectangle now, with the majority of that outside tucked away underneath the ground sheet. Before we start rolling, we've got one final step, and that's to fold it in half one more time, and then we can worry about getting the water out. So let's fold it in half. Now that we've got this great big circle of a tent, we need to get it inside the bag. So the way I like to do this, a little bit strange, but is to basically put it between your knees and slide the bag over it. You've got that between the knees, that keeps it nice and tight, and this is the bag. So much bigger than it needs to be, but we can just fit that around the mouth, slide it in, and it will fall into place. And now it's at the bottom of the bag. What this method of rolling your tent also lets you do is to roll up the tent poles and the pegs with the actual tent, so you can just open it all in one go and you've got everything you need. I don't like doing that because the tent poles are going to be so much longer than what these compressors do. I like to just keep the tent pegs with the poles in the same sort of bag, and then I can close everything up together. There we go, that's our packed away tent, nice and compact. As compact as you're really going to get for a two-person. So let's move on to the tunnel tent. With the tunnel tent, because it's an inner pitch first, means the outer comes out separately, so it's its own entity. You could see on the other tent we just put away that the innards were actually clipped to the inside, so we could just happily take down the whole tent and roll everything up. It doesn't work the same with this one. You can try this, have some clips on the inside that you can sort of tie up, but it's more of a faff that way and it takes more time. The first step that we're going to do is unpeg all of the pegs associated with the outer. So everything around the outside, and tuck away that guy line over there. We've got all the pegs out, they're going straight into the peg bag, and then we can tackle that. Let's have a look at the outers of this tent. First things first, we're just going to pull it front ways off the length of the tent. So now you can see we've just got the inners up. We've got the outers on the floor. Let's pull it out to the side and have a look at what shape we're dealing with. We can see that with this tent, it's a sort of diamond shape, a little bit like a rhombus. That indicates to me we need to make two lines like that, folding inwards, so that we can make this a nice little rectangle. We've now got a really nice rectangular shape, so let's fold that in 3 or in half if it's a bit smaller and start rolling. We've just got the inners left now. What we're going to do is we're going to take out the poles first and pack it away. Let's go and fold this up again. 2 outside parts into the center line, in half again, roll. Let's do it. That's the outers rolled up. Got it secured with the tether points on it. Let's put it inside its bag. So we've got the outers over there and the inners over there, and you can see that this bag really isn't ideal, so I should probably look into getting a stuff sack for this, because this can go on the outside and so can these. That's both tents packed up nice and neatly. Hopefully you learned something. If you didn't, I hope it was fun to watch. I'll see you on the next camping trip.